Ladies and gentlemen, now it's Too Late with Alan Mosley.
Yeah. Let's go. Gotta catch them all. Guys, welcome back for another episode of It's Too Late. I am your host, Alan Mosley, joined as always by the #1 producer in late night. It's Dave Wilimowski. Dave! Dave, how are you doing?
I thought we were done with this stupid show. This is so much worse than I ever imagined.
Okay. We only had a brief moment to speak before the show started, you guys, because Dave was in the green room working on his makeup for a really long time.
There's layers.
Yes. Tell us the honest truth. Is this better or worse in the setup than the Oompa Loompa?
I'm concerned. I'm getting better at applying makeup. We looked up a few tips so that it wasn't as streaky, and it's more of a even coverage. You might be able to tell.
I can tell. I can.
But yeah, this is creepy. This is really bad.
You and I think, should go to a Comic-Con. Like, we're ready. You and me. Let's do it.
We are ready, I guess.
Like, think about it. Like, we'll get a camera crew. We'll do like a man on the street. You and me. We'll go to Comic-Con, and everyone's gonna want to take a picture with us.
Interview people.
Yeah. I, for one, didn't know that Pikachu wore eyeglasses.
Oh yeah. Well, it's getting older.
Yeah.
You hit that age, eyes start to go.
Yeah. He's getting older.
Pikachu can't see shit.
Pikachu's got to be like a good 30-something years old at this point, I would think. I mean, how old do those things live? I mean, if they're like dogs or cats, he's like...
Yeah.
He's getting up there. Oof. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's just something for you to think about then, going into the future. Moving on to tonight's monologue. Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, breaking news tonight. A truck carrying, quote, aggressive research monkeys, potentially infected with hepatitis C, herpes, and COVID, crashed in Mississippi, causing 6 to escape. In fact, one of the monkeys is still on the loose.
Oh.
Hey, Dave. Do we,
Yeah.
Oh, man. Do we have a picture of the aggressive lab monkey infected with herpes, hepatitis, and COVID?
Probably.
Oh. Oh, God. Oh, this is going to be such a good episode. Speaking of the Obamas, the construction of the former President Barack Obama's presidential library is well underway. Check that out. It's a presidential library. Now, according to reports, the library will be practically indestructible. But as the Obamas don't consider a small one-man fighter to be any threat, otherwise they'd have tighter defenses. Now, analysis of the plans provided to us by Princess Leia show that there is a vulnerability. A small exhaust port is only 2 meters wide.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet his exhaust port is 2 meters wide. You know what I mean?
Oh.
Yeah. Obama? Dude, yeah. Also, finally this evening, with the government shutdown hitting nearly a month, concerns arising that payments will not be available for welfare recipients, such as those on SNAP or EBT to help pay for groceries. Now, grocery and retail giant Costco has already made this instructional video for its employees.
Hey folks, can I see your Costco card real quick?
Dude.
Smash it! Ha! Now we eat ice cream for the Warriors! Yilbo! Ha! Shoot!
Oh my God!
Ha! Take this one, brother!
Let it fly!
Shield up! The crust is crisp like firewood. That door moves on its own, eh?
Wow, man.
Yeah, that just happened.
You weren't kidding.
So, no, I wasn't, was I? Guys, we're going to be back with the meme of the week and the viewer mail right after this commercial break. Don't go away.
Who's that Pokemon? It's Pikachu! Pikachu!
Boy, what a show it's been so far tonight, huh, Dave?
Yeah, something else.
But before we get carried away, guys, let me tell you about the live event. We're doing it again, ladies and gentlemen, next year in May. Go ahead, Dave, hit it for us. The 8th annual It's Too Late live show, Saturday, May 6, 2026, in beautiful Columbia, Tennessee. But you got to get your tickets. Your tickets help us to make this year's event the best it's ever been. Got to catch them all.
They got they got to be there so we can catch them.
I thought about introducing myself as Ash Ketchum, but I feel like if I did that, then the audience would debate actually which of the two characters has had it rougher in life. Is it Ash Ketchum or Pikachu that's had a rougher go at it?
Yeah.
Like, Pikachu obviously looks like he's been working a desk job for about 30 years, and he's about had it.
Dead.
Yeah,
dead inside.
And Ash is still wearing the same clothes from when he was a child, which says something else entirely. So, yeah. Hey, Dave.
Yes, Alan.
What time is it?
It's time for meme of the week.
You ugly bastard. You're getting old. Old and kinda sad. No wonder they all leave you. You sour-faced idiot. You ain't fooling no one.
Boy, that hits close to home, actually.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, that's
I don't know.
a little bit too real. But we do have a bonus meme. Check out the bonus meme. What? I thought that was a
Trying to
lovely
keep my
commercial.
hands down. I feel like it ruins the magic when I forgot
Yeah,
about that.
I want to keep my hands up because I want you to see that I've
we
got the whole
opposite problem.
got the whole thing. Yeah. You know, what's funny is not that we would ever use a green screen on this program, except for when we do use a green screen. When I came in here earlier today, I raised my hands up and it was literally fingertips floating in the air.
Oh.
And I thought, well, that's no good. So I actually had to get the old backdrop out and put the green screen away so that you could truly enjoy the whole thing. You know what I mean? Oh, wow. We're actually doing fantastically well on time.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This
that's what I've been doing. Keeping an eye.
Yeah, this show may not run way over. Let's go ahead and answer the viewer mail. Oh. Ooh.
That was
like that?
spooky. Yeah.
Thank you. We both put way too much into this.
No, yeah.
It's unhealthy. Yeah. Yeah. No, oh yeah, no, put your hand away. That's creepy. Yeah.
I have
all right. Andy Avery writes, Dear Alan and Dave, do ghosts go to parties to socialize, or are they just there for their booze?
Oh,
hold on. Two-parter. Are ghosts good liars, or can you see right through them?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I like the first one.
Yeah. Boy, if we had laugh reacts, these would land, I'll tell you.
I'll
Ryan Seifert writes, Dear Alan and Dave, what was your best Halloween costume when you were a kid? Dave, best Halloween costume growing up?
I couldn't really remember. I was always just kind of like whatever got me out there and got the candy. The only one that pops in my mind was as a punk rocker, you know, I think I had like a cut off denim and like spikes and a mohawk.
So you just wore
early
clothes.
90s. Yeah.
Okay.
I probably made some kind of scar on my face or something. I like doing that.
My best one, I think, just in terms of like audience reception, was probably when I was a werewolf, which being a werewolf was great because then it gives you an excuse to do blackface.
Oh,
Like, so imagine like 10-year-old me, my face is all, neck is all brown from the shoe polish, you
Yeah.
know,
yeah.
and then we went out and got all like all that latex glue and then put a whole bunch of
Yeah.
like hair and stuff. It looked great, but I got to tell you, taking all that stuff off back in those days was not pleasant.
No.
Ripping off all that stuff. Yeah. But I will say honorable mention was Darkwing Duck. I was
No kidding.
Darkwing Duck, and I had the actual
great.
gun and the purple cape and the hat, everything. It was just dope. If I had it now, I would wear it. I would,
Yeah.
for real.
I
Like,
might
to
steal
work.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I would just go out wearing it.
Run, yeah.
Aaron Kittner writes, Dear on to Dave, besides Christmas, what was your favorite holiday growing up? What was your favorite holiday?
Probably growing up, it'd probably be Easter because that involved candy also.
Mm-hmm.
No, besides Christmas, yeah, it'd be Halloween. Yeah, because that was the most candy. That was like
Yeah.
pillowcases full of candy.
Yeah, when I was a little kid, Halloween, because we did it big. We went over to my grandmother's house and like had the best designed house in the neighborhood with all the stuff in the yard, and like we really went all out for it. So yeah, Halloween for sure. Boy, here we talked ourselves out of doing the candy tier list, and right now I'm thinking, damn, I wish I had some candy.
Yeah,
You know?
a pile of it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If I remember when our audience would just send us like $200 of candy and say, "Eat this, you fat fucks." You bet you won't, you know.
but you
All
won't.
right. Yeah. Well, we got them, didn't we?
We showed them.
Chris Malliard writes, "Dear Alan and Dave, is Vegas dying? Is there something wrong with
I've been
Vegas?"
hearing. I don't know. I've been hearing things. They got that big ball now, though. The big video ball. Isn't that
I
working?
have seen the ball, but I've heard a lot of mixed reviews about it. I think a lot of people feel like it's just kind of creepy.
It
you
does
know?
seem creepy.
Yeah, I don't
Surreal.
want to. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that giant orb looking at me when I'm driving down the street.
Watching you.
Yeah, because that's what it's doing. It's watching me. You know.
Mhm.
Yeah. Gary Deischer writes, "Dear Alan and Dave, did you have a favorite cousin that you liked to hang out with when you were a kid?" Dave, did you have like cousins that were like siblings growing up?
Oh yeah. We had this set of cousins where their mom was my mom's sister, their dad was my dad's brother. We all had like matching ages, and we were there constantly. If anybody knows my lore, they know my cousin Joey's stories.
Mm-hmm.
He was the one getting me into all my trouble and introducing me to the world. He's 3 years older, so he was
Okay.
much wiser. Yeah,
Yeah. Cool.
yeah, pretty wild. That'd be him. Yep.
Yeah. I didn't actually I didn't have any close cousins who lived nearby that were of a relevant age and whatever, but I have been watching this show, and there is a very unique relationship in it between the main character and his cousin. And I got to say, I didn't have that growing up,
No.
but I mean, I'd be down. I mean,
How hot is she? Right.
exactly right. Can you imagine people who like this is the first show they've ever seen and they're like, "What?"
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
a mess.
He's dressed up as some kind of yellow pixie, and now he's talking about incest. It's weird. Celeste Annis writes, "Dear Alan and Dave, what toy did you hate as a child?" Dave, did you have a toy that you hated?
You know, I was thinking back, and I even, because I looked at this question, and I even looked up online. I was trying to find like 80s toys, just annoying 80s toys. I couldn't think of anything. Like, I don't remember having a toy that I hated. You know?
I thought about this. I actually have a great answer for it.
good.
I got a hand-me-down toy that was. Do you remember Teddy Rumpkin? Do you remember him?
Oh yeah, he came up. Yep.
So my family had one of those bears. It had the little voice box thing in its chest, like
Yeah,
you
it's
press
like a
down on it
tape
and it
recorder.
talks. But of course, by the time I got it, it was just, you know, you press the button and it's just, It's just man-made horrors beyond our comprehension. So imagine me, 4-year-old Alan, it's like, oh, cool, a teddy bear, and then it just like starts telling me to like just slit my cousin's throat, you know, and it's like, yeah, write that down. So Teddy Rumpskin spoke to me, and it wasn't right.
No, it told you to do things. Okay.
Yeah, Keith McQuarrie writes, Dear Alan and Dave, would you ever go on a hot air balloon ride? Yeah, I'd go on a hot air balloon. Would you go on a hot air balloon?
It's like I feel like I hit an age where I'm afraid of everything. I know too much, and it's too much liability. I don't know if I could do it. I don't like heights either.
Oh, I mean, I don't really love heights, but I used to think that this would be super dangerous because you would just fall out of the basket. Like the basket would just do this and you'd fall to your death. But I've seen them up close. They're actually like very sturdy, and the basket's really tall. Like they make it in such a way that you just can be like, oh, sorry. Because that would just be you're just killing yourself. You know, like that's
just tip.
Yeah.
I'd be more afraid of the whole you're not controlling anything, are you? Don't you just kind of float wherever the wind takes you?
I mean, there's a guy, and he's got a
vents.
Yeah, he's got a valve. He turns it. You know. I think what's frightening you is that in your mind it's like an aircraft, and the aircraft's entire control deck is this.
Yeah, this is
like that's it.
A couple of springs and a valve. Yeah.
Yeah. You need to make Tucson by tonight. That's it.
Let me crank this up.
Yeah, or it's like, oh my God, we're gonna die. Oh.
Turn that down.
Yeah.
Better turn this down.
Yeah, I would do it. And finally this evening, Mary Lynn Wilimowski writes, Dear Alan, Dave, did your parents check for candy, for razor blades or drugs when you got home on Halloween night? Did your parents check out your candy?
I feel like I think there was a period of time when that was real hype, like late 80s.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they did, but I might be. I just imagine them like those weird orange and black wrapped candies. You know, the ones that already look pretty sus. I feel like I remember them like opening those.
Yeah,
it's hazy. Yeah.
The only time I remember my mom or dad checking my candy is they were going to pull out all the bad ones, and then they would give me back, and all that would be left would be those orange and black things, and like licorice, and
the rest of them had razor blades. Can you believe it?
I got to keep the razor blades, so smooth shave. Yeah. Guys, we're going to be back with tonight's guest right after this commercial break. Don't go away. Tonight's show is proudly sponsored by Fox & Sons Coffee. Fans of It's Too Late use code ITL for 18% off orders of $34.99. Welcome back to the show, everybody. Our guest this evening is a content manager, writer, editor. He's everything over at Money Metals, which you can find their website at moneymetals.com. Here to talk a little bit today about gold, silver, and other economic news. It's our friend Mike Maharrey. Mike, how are you doing today? Who are you today? What is that?
I am obviously a hockey player, but
Of
not
course.
just a hockey player. I am a beer league hockey player.
Oh, of course. Yes.
So yeah, we got right here the champagne of beers. It's gonna be great.
Yeah. Okay.
After the
What are
game.
you? What do you drink there? What is that?
This is Miller High Life. This is my wife's favorite beer. She calls it construction worker beer. So
Okay.
that's
All right.
what was in the fridge.
So you're dressed up as a beer league hockey player, but also you are a beer league hockey player.
That's true. But I'm usually a goalie. So if I
Okay.
dressed as a goalie, you wouldn't be able to see my face, and that would not be for good video. So
Yeah. If
although
you were,
some might argue that would be better not seeing my face. I mean,
Well, I don't know. I've seen some old videos. Goalies used to dress pretty much like you are right now, and then the bottom half of their face would be missing in about a year.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, we had some of these questions during the viewer mail right before this segment right here. People asking us about our childhoods and dredging up terrible memories. Were you a big Halloween family growing up? Did you have a bunch? What were some of your favorite costumes as a kid?
So my stepdad was really into Halloween, and he was pretty creative. And the year that Star Wars came out, he made me.
Oh.
It wasn't exactly R2D2, but it was kind of a proximity of that. So he made this like he used this. It was, I guess, almost like a cardboard barrel kind of thing that he used as the basis, and it covered my head. It had a little slot that you could put the candy in when I trick or treated. Thing weighed like 40 pounds, so it was really heavy for a 10-year-old kid, but it was so super freaking cool. So yeah, that was my favorite.
In my mind, that's so funny to me because in my mind, I'm thinking of little 10-year-old Mike saying, "I want to be Luke Skywalker," and stepdad saying, "No, I'm Luke Skywalker. You're R2D2."
Yeah, that'd be about right for Dave. He loved Halloween though. He would do he'd do the whole thing. He built a coffin one year and put on the front porch, and then got inside of it. And then when the kids would come up to trick or treat, he would come jumping out of that coffin and terrorize the little neighborhood's kids. So yeah, Halloween was always a lot of fun at our house.
That is awesome. I enjoy that immensely. I never did like the huge like pre-constructed costumes. My favorite that's like connected to my childhood was I was a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, of course, with the big turtle back and the bandana and the whole thing. I think the best costume in terms of it like genuinely looking like authentic and scary and all that is I did a werewolf one year where I did the whole thing, which of course werewolf is fantastic because it gives you an excuse to go in blackface. So I have the brown shoe polish all over my face to go along with like tons and tons of the latex sticky stuff so you can put hair everywhere. It actually looked really good, but I got to tell you, going back to our traumatized 10-year-olds, taking off all of that old latex stuff was not pleasant.
I bet. My grandmother was she was quite the sewer. So I had some pretty cool costumes when I was a little kid. I know I was in maybe 2 or 3. She made me a tiger. And then there's a Count Dracula costume where she sewed the cape and had the red, inside. So I had some really cool costumes when I was growing up.
So yeah, honorable mention. My next favorite was probably I was Darkwing Duck. So
oh, nice
for people that remember Darkwing Duck. So we're gonna get into some economic news, Mike Maharrey. We're gonna start a little bit with what's really been on the news a lot is the shutdown, the government shutdown. And I thought that we would kind of do a really basic intro and then kind of what it means. I think for all of our questions tonight, we'll do a what is this, but then what does this actually mean, to regular folks on the street. So starting with the government shutdown, I think as of today, it's 28 or 29 days. You can correct me. I think it's 28 days and counting. But when they say government shutdown, so I've been out and around town, and the street lights were still on, and they're certainly still charging tax for everything. So I'm pretty sure it's not anarchy in the street. So when they say the government is shut down, what does that actually mean in practical sense?
So before we do this, I'm going to drop the gloves.
Oh, okay. Oh. Well, I'm not going to drop my gloves because I
did that really because they're hot and kind of uncomfortable for seeing.
Okay.
So yeah, obviously the government isn't really shut down. I always joke when they have these government shutdowns that they don't shut down any of the things we'd really like for them to shut down, right? They're not going to, stop spying on us or stop the wars or anything like that. They're not going to stop collecting taxes. I still had to, I did a income tax extension, so I still had to file that on October 15th. So yeah, all of that stuff is still going on. In real terms, what it means is nobody's getting paid. So a lot of these government workers who are quote unquote, essential, which if they're not essential, one might wonder why we have them in the first place. But those folks are having to work and then they'll eventually get paid, once it's all said and done. But really the nuts and bolts of it, as much as anything, it's theater, right? They close things like parks, they quit updating websites, things that really the average person isn't going to really matter to them one bit or, one bit. Most people are going to just look at the world and say, oh, well, it's just like it was yesterday. Government shut down. So what? Now, it is an issue for folks who depend on, things like government assistance. There's talk that, they may not be able to pay out the SNAP payments and some of the welfare stuff, which, we could debate whether or not we should have welfare or not. But the fact of the matter is people depend on that. So it will cause hardships for some people. But really, the bottom line, in my view, it's political theater, and it's designed to try to create as much inconvenience and window dressing for the politicians to grandstand on. More than having any real impact on anybody's life.
What about Social Security? Is there a risk at Social Security if the government shut down, or is that different?
I don't think so. I mean, I'm not on Social Security, so honestly, I haven't paid a whole lot of attention to that. But
of course, when I say is there a risk to Social Security, we mean right now. We know there is, but we're talking about
exactly.
the government shutdown. Yeah.
No, actually, to be honest, now they'll. I think they float a lot of things in the news to make people panic because, again, this is about politics, right? It's about creating political pressure for one party or another. And both of them are trying to shift the blame to one side or another. So they'll float things. And, somebody will come and say, oh, we're not going to get the Social Security checks out. And then, magically they'll figure it out a way to get those quote unquote essential things done. So again, obviously I don't think much of the government shutdown. I think it's mostly just politics. But it is what it is, and it certainly has an impact on some folks. For better or for worse.
Well, so we'll wrap up the shutdown question with this: is that at the end of the day, and I agree with you, it's mostly about politics. But when we say it's about politics, we're talking about blame, right? So the Republicans want to say that the Democrats are to blame for the government shutdown because they won't vote for this bill, for a spending bill, and Democrats, of course, are going to blame the Republicans because at the end of the day, that doesn't work on you or me because when we hear government shutdown, we think whoopee, we're happy about that, but they actually want, I mean, and this is sort of, in my opinion, this is kind of sort of like the vile part of it, is they want regular people's lives to be affected. They want you to hurt so that way you'll be out in the streets. Harumph, why won't those people vote for this bill? And there's a certain level of insidious evil to that, I feel like, is that they're actually banking on you being upset and you being affected so that you'll then rally to their cause politically rather than genuinely having, their constituents, bet lives on the line. So if you had to place blame, is the blame Republicans, Democrats, both? And I'll also add in there, you and I discussed this before the show started, is that I know a lot of Republicans, the MAGA people are really upset with Congressman Thomas Massie from Kentucky right now because Thomas Massie has essentially sided with Democrats saying, well, we're not going to vote for this bill. Now, the reason he's not voting for the bill is because a clean continuing resolution would just be voting for the most recent budget, right? Which was Biden's 2024 bill. So just so that everyone's clear at home. So MAGA Republicans are mad because Thomas Massie won't vote for Biden's spending budget. Do I have that right?
Yeah, that's basically it. So for folks who maybe aren't exactly clear what the specific issue is, the Republicans want to pass this continuing resolution that would basically continue everything at the current spending levels that we had under the Biden budget until they can hammer out a 2026 fiscal budget. And this would happen, I guess in the middle of November. So it's kind of just pushing the can down the road so that they can get a deal. And the Democrats are saying, well, wait a minute, if we're going to extend all of these budget things, then we should also extend the Obamacare tax subsidies, which expired on September 30th. And the Republicans are saying, no, we're not going to do that. And so that's, in essence, that's the roadblock. Now, who do you blame? Well, I'm not a partisan, so I'm not inclined to blame either side. I think they're both retarded. And, the whole thing is stupid. And exactly what you said, we had the show of Doge and we're going to cut spending. And yet nobody actually wants to cut the spending that they found. it was more political theater, it looks like to me, where we can point this out and look how bad these people are, but they're not going to really do anything about it. So I'm not going to pin blame on either side. It's politics, and politics is dumb no matter which side of the party aisle you're on.
Well, on that note, let's move on to something else that's in the news a lot, particularly under the current Trump administration. Let's talk a little bit about tariffs. So I know that sort of in our free market libertarian type circles, you'll hear a lot of people make the argument that, well, tariffs are just a tax on us because, if a tariff is placed, which is going to raise the cost of, say, manufacturing from China, well, they're just going to pass that cost along, and so that ultimately you and I would pay for it. But let's just for argument's sake, let's leave that part of it out of the equation for now, and let's just talk about the actual numbers themselves. So start us off with kind of keeping to our theme of what is this, and then what does it actually mean? Historically, what are tariffs, and what is like the purpose of a tariff? And then we'll talk about, are the tariffs actually serving any positive function for us right now?
Yeah. So you're absolutely right in that, when you boil it all down, a tariff is a tax. It is a tax the government charges on products that are coming into the country from another country. So, China sends us TVs. They have to pay a tax for the privilege of bringing those televisions into the United States and accessing our market. So that does raise the cost of a TV. And, we can debate who's going to pay it. It's not completely true that the customer bears all of the tariff cost, but they do bear some of it. But really, that's not important. It is important, though, to understand that it is fundamentally a tax. Now, what's the purpose of it? Well, there are multiple purposes for taxes, just like they are with any other tax. For one thing, it is a revenue generator. And we've heard people talk about, oh, maybe we can, get rid of the IRS. We'll get rid of the income tax and we'll replace that with this tariff revenue. That's one argument. But tariffs and taxes in general can also be used as incentives, shall we say, to get people to behave in a certain way. So you hear of taxes on cigarettes, and the idea is we're not trying to raise revenue. We're trying to get people to smoke less by raising the cost of smoking. So tariffs have also been used historically as a tool of protectionism. We raise the price of cheaper imported goods, which allows more expensive domestically imported goods to compete. So if you have to raise the price of that Chinese TV, then the Americans don't have to worry about the fact that their TVs are a little bit more expensive because production costs are more here in the United States. So it can be used as a policy tool for trade to, incentivize behaviors, or it can be used as a revenue generator, or it can be some combination of those two things.
So, okay, so let's focus on that whole tariffs as an exchange for, closer to home, like personal income tax. I think a lot of people who normally would kind of scoff at this. It's kind of like, again, I hate to bring partisan politics into it, but I think there's a lot of people who are right of center who on the surface would say, well, I generally don't agree. I don't agree with tariffs just simply being used as a political bludgeon, because that has nothing to do with economics at all. That's just force. But I in principle, I don't believe in tariffs. However, at the end of the day, I just want things on net to be better for Americans. And that's fine. I'm sympathetic with that part of the argument, that if you believe that pursuing this policy preference is going to make things on net better for Americans, then I'm not wholesale against it. But if you're being sold on the idea that raising tariff revenue is going to mean that you and I don't have to pay income tax next year, the numbers don't seem to bear that out, right? Let's talk about that.
Yeah, the numbers don't bear that out at all. And I think, first off, I think a lot of people really just have no idea exactly how much money the United States spends on a monthly basis. It spends well over $500 billion every single month. So imagine how much revenue you're talking about to just cover that spending. So let's look at the tariff revenue. I happen to have the data here. I'm going to glance to my side because it's on my other screen here, so that's why I'm kind of looking around weird. But the U.S. collected $202 billion in customs duties in fiscal 2025. So the fiscal year actually ended on September 30th. So we've actually started 2026 in terms of government calendar. So $202 billion. That was a 142% increase in tariff revenue year on year. So, yes, the U.S. is bringing in a lot more tariff revenue than it was the year before. But think about that number. I said $202 billion. That was for the entire year. How much did I say the U.S. spends every single month?
Over $500 billion a month. Yeah.
Right. So that tariff revenue that we collected for the entire year wouldn't cover even a third of a month's spending on an average month. So looking at September, the government took in $30 billion in tariff revenue. That was a 295% increase. And yet we still ran the fourth largest budget deficit ever with all of this tariff revenue coming in on top of the income taxes. So this idea that tariff revenue is somehow going to fill this tax hole is absolutely absurd. The numbers just don't work. And the reality is that the federal government spends too much money. Now, back in the day when the federal government was much more limited and wasn't trying to do everything in the world, maybe you could run a national government on tariff revenue, but we've gone well past that possibility. So the other thing that irks me about this argument is that people want to talk out of both sides of their mouth when it comes to tariffs. On the one hand, oh, this is great, it's raising all of this revenue. On the other hand, most MAGA people will tell me that, oh no, the tariffs are really just a bargaining tool, right? We're going to get better trade deals and then the tariffs are going to go down. Well, if that's going to happen, then that means that tariff revenue, we're probably at the peak. Right? I don't think we're going to see more tariff revenue coming down the road. If we make trade deals, ostensibly that tariff revenue is actually going to drop. So which is it? Are we really trying to do deals? And is this a bargaining tool? Because I'm actually a little bit sympathetic to that argument. You can make the argument that China or Vietnam or India, that they're imposing unfair trade practices on us. So we're going to hit them with high tariffs and then force them to the bargaining table and we'll both come out better off on the other side. That's not a bad plan. Unfortunately, it never seems to work out that way. But you can't have it both ways. You can't have tariff as the revenue generating tool and as a bargaining tool and as a trade policy tool. It's not going to do all of those things. So, pick one.
Yeah, I did notice the numbers that I had looked at. You had already talked about that month versus year. That the estimates over the next decade. Of course, again, we know that the CBO's estimates are just always the rosiest possible expectations, and they never turn out as good as that. But even considering the rosiest possible expectations, and also even considering like we need to cut spending drastically, but they don't do that. Spending still goes up. Inflation still goes up. So let's just say in the rosiest possible scenario, everything's capped exactly the way it is today. They don't spend another cent more than what they're spending right now. Even based on that, tariffs over the next decade are only going to, at best, cover 1% of the budget. 1%. So I agree with you that it's so funny because something that we've heard more recently, and again, it's not that I don't agree with this to an extent. It's just that doesn't mean it's a good thing. A lot of people will say there's really no point for a politician to go up there to the podium and talk about the national debt because no one cares. We know that the 37 or now 38, I mean, maybe it's 38 trillion now in the time we've had this conversation. Yeah. Oh, perfect. That's not going to get paid down. We know the United States is never going to pay off that debt. It's never going to happen. At least not in the way the government functions today. It would have to wholesale different form of government for that to happen. But so it may be a political non-starter to talk about the national debt, but at least something that is connected to the national debt that should be politically viable to discuss is spending. Because if we can't cut spending, then all of these issues that we're talking about are only the next generation's is only going to have it worse. The next generation after that is only going to have it worse. The next generation, oh, you can't afford a home today. Oh, It costs a lifetime salary to go to college, and then kids can't pay off that debt. Look, it's only going to be worse every generation from here because those things were never dealt with. But speaking of all that, I actually want to move on to our next topic that is a little bit related to talking about future generations having to deal with this gobbledygook that we're talking about. Let's talk a little bit about the job market. Now, of course, folks that follow me will know that I love the job market. It's just fantastic.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. But the job numbers particularly are so funny because we've heard, I mean, this has been from like every administration ever, but let's just talk about recent presidencies. So during the entire Biden presidency, job numbers would come out and they would always paint a rosy picture of, unemployment is down, all these new jobs were created, salaries are up, the economy's running great under this Democratic administration. And then critics would often cite that, well, if you look months later, they always revise these numbers. It's always months later when it's out of the news cycle, of course. They would revise these numbers, and of course, they always are being revised down. I mean, can we remember a time that they revised things and things were actually way better? That never happens. It's always that things were worse. And then, of course, when Trump becomes president, this practice continues. They're still releasing job numbers that are not, by the way, are not great, but they're actually always being revised down. They're even worse than expected. So much so that Trump actually back in August, he fired the commissioner at the BLS, Bureau of Labor and Statistics, saying that, oh, well, they're manipulating the numbers to make me look bad. That was Trump's argument, is that, well, you're just trying to make me look bad. You're a holdover from the Biden administration. You're fired. I'm not going to try to do a Trump impression of the "you're fired." I'm sorry, audience. But then 1 month later, the next statistics come out under a new commissioner, and guess what? They're even worse. So let's talk a little bit about the job market and the numbers that come out. Can we ever believe any of them? And how's the job market actually look?
Yeah, it's one of those things where like the numbers I don't think really reflect reality. But they're the numbers that we have, and it's what everybody uses for policy making. So we kind of have to pay attention to them because they matter, whether they should or not. And you're absolutely right. We look at the last year of the Biden administration, and they erased almost 1 million jobs from the BLS estimates over that time period. When you go through all of the adjustments, from the initial announcement to what they've come up with now, almost 1 million jobs just disappeared because some guy did some math wrong or something, So it is crazy. And you make a really good point about the way the revisions work. They're almost always down. Now they do revise them up every once in a while, but I actually went back and looked at the job data for like the last, I want to say I went back to 2000. And there were only like 6 times that the numbers, or 6 years out of those 25 or 24, where the numbers were higher at the end of the day than what were originally announced. All of the rest of those years were revised down. I mean, you would think it would, if they were just making a mistake, you would think it would at least be like 50-50 or close, not even close. So the veracity of these numbers is questionable. And you just have to consider too, just the way they do the data. For instance, if you go out tomorrow and you start delivering pizzas, they're going to call that in the data a job added, even if you're just doing it part-time. Yeah. And, if I go out and start, driving for Uber, even doing the job I still am now, it's going to say, oh, the economy added 1 job. Well, it added 1 part-time job because I couldn't pay my bills with my job, right? The data doesn't capture those nuances. So you really have to kind of dig into the job market. It has been weak now for a couple of years, getting weaker. And I think anybody that's out there actually looking for a job, you can attest to this, will tell you that it's not nearly as great as everybody. If the labor market was as tight as advertised, people would be like lining up at people's doors to hire them. And that's just not happening. So, I mean, it's pretty clear that we're in a softening labor market. It's pretty clear that we're in a stagnating economy. We're not in a recession kind of territory, but we're just kind of muddling along. And a lot of economists that I've talked to think that that's kind of the future. We're just going to kind of muddle along because that's the best the economy is going to be able to do, given the burden of debt and the malinvestments that are still inherent in the economy because of all of the monetary malfeasance over the last 2 decades.
It's so interesting. Something that I've heard now for years, this is not a modern phenomenon, is that a lot of times when they say unemployment's down, they'll say it's because there were people looking for jobs who then give up and are no longer looking for jobs. And then they no longer count them as being unemployed in the statistics. And also, you kind of already touched on this, is that if a, let's say retail chain X eliminates a full-time position because they don't want to pay that much money and they don't want to have to give anyone any healthcare or benefits. And then so they remove one, say 45-hour-a-week job and they add 2 15-hour-a-week part-timers to go collect carts. That's a net gain of one job, right? But we know that those 2 kids aren't making a living on that. And the guy who was trying to feed his family is out of work. That was a net loss for the American economy, but the job numbers say that it's been an improvement. It's so interesting to me, even as my own personal anecdote can attest. There's and of course we're heading into the holiday season as we speak. It'll be Thanksgiving and Christmas before you know it, and we know that there's always a surge in seasonal job openings, right, for the holiday season. But in these job openings, what you find so often is that companies, again, what I'm about to describe to you doesn't sound like companies are having to fall over themselves to find the best candidates because it's such a competitive job market. What it is they will want to hire someone. It's going to be part-time, but they want you to have full availability on their schedule because they hold all the cards. They're going to pay you a wage that, Mike, when I was still a kid, when I was like 20 something years old, early 20s, before I opened my business, I could already get a job somewhere making $15 an hour. Remember all the hashtag fight for 15, which you don't hear so much anymore because now $15 isn't any money. I think that's why you don't hear that anymore.
It is, yeah.
I already had a job making $15 an hour. And at that time I thought, well, this isn't bad. I wish I could make more, but this is the best job I've ever had. Mike, this is like 2006 we're talking about here. You have companies today that are actually hiring entry-level people for less than that. They only want to pay $12, $13, $14 an hour. So the hashtag fight for 15 people are now a decade too late. $15 doesn't pay anything, and you're still not getting $15. And again, and I know I use that kind of cultural phenomenon as an example. And again, you and I both know, okay, the true minimum wage is $0. They could just, it could put people out of work. I get all that from an economic standpoint, but I'm always going to sympathize with the common man who says, yeah, but I actually can't live on that job. So if I take that job, I now have no free time, but I still can't pay my bills at the end of the month. How can you possibly be telling me the job market's good? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah. I mean, you've probably seen the meme. It goes around periodically with the 5 silver quarters from 1964, back when our quarters still had silver in them. And, they point out that was the minimum wage. It was like $1.25. And if you melt those 5 silver quarters down now, I mean, we're over $8 an ounce or $8 for a quarter, for the melt value. So what's that? 5 times 8, that's like $40, right? That's what your minimum wage was when we actually had real money. And so that's really the issue that we're dealing with, is it's that fact that prices are rising faster than wages. And it always happens that way. That's why people will always tell you that a high inflationary environment is most difficult for the working poor and those on fixed incomes, because wages are always the last thing to adjust to inflation. So in the meantime, you're able to buy less and less. And so really, we don't have a wage problem in the United States. We have a money problem in the United States. The government is literally ruining our money on a daily basis as a matter of policy. And we see that reflected in these kind of things that you're talking about, where, a guy now can't make it on $15 or $20 an hour, whereas even 5 or 10 years ago, that would have been a sufficient wage at least.
Oh yeah, exactly. I use myself as an example that if this were, it's so funny. This is something we've talked about on the show before, is that it's not just the ridiculous debt and the ridiculous inflation and the devaluing of the dollar. It's how much it's accelerated just over the last few years. It was bad in 2010. But it's gotten so much worse in the last 10 to 20 years that suddenly a job opening of $20 an hour, you're thinking, ugh, I guess if that's the best I can do, because it's still going to be, money's going to be tight. Whereas, again, I remember being a young man. If you said, hey, I need some help around the house, how's $20 an hour? I'd have been like, oh man, this is, I've hit the jackpot.
Yeah. It's especially for somebody that's old like me. I'm 58. I mean, I remember when I was a young man thinking, man, if I could make $20 an hour, that'd be awesome,
Yeah.
And that's just not a reality. I think that's part of the problem, though. You get a lot of these people in Congress and stuff, and they've not had to have a real job in decades, and they're 560 years old. So in their heads, oh, $5 an hour is still a pretty damn good wage out there, young man. Just get to work. Pull your boots on.
Yeah.
It's sad.
Yes,
that's the world we live in.
That is my favorite boomer response to anyone struggling in the market today, is that, well, you must be lazy. Just get a job. Just go work. Like, right. I hate to tell you this, sir, but Pizza Hut won't pay me enough to live. Sorry. So since we were talking about money, let's wrap up there. Talk about money, but also talking about what we would consider to be real money. Let's talk a little bit about gold and silver. Of course, you're over at Money Metals, moneymetals.com. We talked about their site a little bit earlier in the show. It's been an exciting time in the news cycle for gold and silver lately. So talk a little bit about the spike in the price of gold and silver. I know that there's been a little bit of a sell-off. I know you're going to talk about that, but let's talk about the price of gold and silver, and how that may be exciting for you if you have a bunch of gold and silver. But what does that actually mean when the price of gold and silver spikes?
Yeah, absolutely. So just for some perspective, I think most people who are following the markets at all are aware of the fact that gold and silver have both done pretty well over the last year and a half. Just to put it in context, even after the recent correction, gold is up over 85% since January 1st, 2024. That's just a phenomenal increase for an asset. Gold has outperformed virtually every asset class, including stocks. Bitcoin was a little bit better last year. I don't think Bitcoin's doing quite as well this year. So, we can compare those two. But by and large, gold and silver are the king and queen assets. Other precious metals are doing well, as also including platinum and palladium. But you make a really good point, or you allude to a really good point when you say this is telling us something else, right? It's not just, oh, look, gold and silver are going up. People want gold and silver. It is telling us something about the monetary system. Gold is historically money. It is still money, right? You can go anywhere in the world and people will recognize the value of gold. If you wanted to buy something, virtually anybody in the world would take gold for it, because gold is real money. So when you see the price of real money going up, it's telling you that the value of the fiat currencies are going down. And that's really the bottom line of what it's not that, I've always said that gold really isn't a great investment. Gold is just an inflation hedge. It protects your wealth from the relentless devaluation of government policy when it comes to fiat paper money. And that's exactly what's happening. The value of the dollar is going down. The value of the rupee is going down. The value of the euro is going down. So therefore, when you price gold in those assets, that price is going to go up. So gold and silver are reflecting monetary devaluation. When you see gold surging, generally speaking, especially over a long term, generally what that's telling you is that your purchasing power is going down. Not only, it's just like everything else. Your milk is more expensive, your lumber is more expensive, your clothes are more expensive, and your gold is more expensive because dollars buy less.
Well, something I wanted to show on the screen. This was a chart that you found for me. Going around the social media, around Twitter about a week or two ago, people were just sort of talking about this chart that was saying if the stock market may be rising, line go up. There's been a recent cultural war in the economic world between the line go up people, which basically our argument be, look, if stocks continue to rise and shareholders continue to cash in, that means the economy must be good, versus the regular layman who says, well, I'm being evicted, so actually I know the economy's not great. I don't care. I don't care what the S&P 500 is. And so people were sharing this interesting chart that was talking about the Dow priced in gold. And this chart right here, for people looking at home, this is 1929 versus today. So instead of showing just the line go up of the average stock price or the money in the stock market, this is the value of the stock market priced in against the value of gold. Just so for people who may be listening instead of watching, the peak in 1921, the Dow was priced at 19.1 ounces of gold, whereas today the Dow is only priced in 12.2 ounces of gold. So that's actually a change of negative 36.1%. Mike, what does that mean?
That means that inflation has pumped up the stock market, just like inflation has pumped up the price of everything. And that's something I think a lot of people don't understand. And part of that, I think, is intentional. The government and its support units in academia and financial networks have kind of redefined inflation. You go back to the 1970s, if you look up inflation, it will tell you that inflation is an increase in the supply of money and credit. It's a growing money supply. One of the symptoms of this monetary inflation is consumer price inflation. Consumer prices go up as the money supply increases. But what people don't understand now, they just think inflation means consumer prices are going up. So, they think it's just about eggs. But the fact of the matter is inflation impacts a lot of different things. And sometimes it doesn't even show up in consumer prices. Sometimes it shows up in financial markets. It will jack up the prices of the stock market. It will jack up real estate, which is what we saw in the run up to the 2008 financial crisis. So depending on the dynamics in the market will kind of dictate where that new money will go. But a lot of it has gone into the stock market. So the stock market is also reflecting inflation, which is what this is really telling you is that the value of the stock market priced in real money has actually gone down. Stocks not line up, it's lying down when you account for the inflationary effects. So, even stocks aren't really better off if you factor out the inflationary pressure. So we have an economy today that is really built on this easy money, this constant money printing, this artificial injection of liquidity and debt. And eventually that has to correct. It has to explode. It has to cave in because it's not sustainable in the long run. It's not a real economy. It's all built on smoke and mirrors. And, eventually the smoke fades and the mirror breaks. So, I'm afraid at some point we're going to have the reckoning, and it's going to be even more unpleasant than the stuff that we're dealing with now.
Well, on that note, we're running short on time, so I want to make sure to tell the audience that if you're interested in getting some real economic news, particularly as it pertains to precious metals, then where can people go, Mike Maharrey, to learn more about you and what you write about and where they can get their gold and silver?
Well, go to moneymetals.com/news first. And if you're on the main moneymetals.com page, you can see right there at the top bar, there's a button for news. And if you click that, you'll go to our news page. And I generally write a couple of articles every single day, or at least every work day over there, covering what's going on in the gold market, what's going on with the Federal Reserve. I've written about the cooked job numbers, and I've written about this change in the definition of inflation. So that kind of information is out there and available. And of course, if you're thinking, well, I don't want my purchasing power to keep declining. Well, you want to have real money. If you are saving money at all and you want to hold money for the long term, you don't want to hold it in dollars, because 10 years from now, even if they just go as planned, right? Even if it's just the target of 2%, in 10 years, you're losing 10% of your purchasing power every decade. So you want to have real money, you want to have gold and silver, and you can get that over at Money Metals. We have everything from bars to coins to collectible rounds. we have a program where you can actually do an installment plan for as little as $100 a month. You can start building your gold portfolio, because I know a lot of folks out there don't have $4,000 to buy an ounce of gold. So you can buy it a little bit at a time. So there's a lot of great programs. There are ways you can get involved, but you want to protect your wealth if at all possible. And I know a lot of people are saying like, I don't have any money. And that's fair. But maybe you can at least, maybe if you're saving anything at all, you can get a couple of silver rounds or something. But you definitely don't want to hold on to dollars for the long term, because they're just not going to buy as much today as they will tomorrow. So check that out at moneymetals.com. I also do a podcast every Wednesday, and you can find that over under the part that says resources. We usually post it on the news page as well. But I do a 30-minute to 40-minute podcast where I talk about kind of what's happened in the past week and get into some of the economic principles and some of the fundamentals that are underlying the markets. And I try to do it in an interesting way that people that aren't necessarily like big into investing and stuff can listen to, get something out of, and understand what's going on a little better, to hopefully navigate this. Because I say all the time, this is not something that you can vote away, right? You're not going to get the right people in office who are going to fix this. This is unfixable. And this is the policy. 2% inflation is the plan, right? And they're way above that. So you have to do what you can to shield yourself from it, because you're not going to stop it. And so that's the way you can do it. We have to take our own steps as best we can to try to navigate the crappy world that the government's given us. So we can help you over at Money Metals if you're interested in doing that.
Every Wednesday, a 30 to 40-minute podcast talking about all this economic news. And today, Mike did 2 of those. He did one for Money Metals, and then he did one for It's Too Late. So thanks for working overtime, Mike, for us. And you know what? As Mike can tell you, you dress for the job you want, not the job you have.
I am a beer league hockey player. And I even had to break into the beer because I got kind of thirsty and I didn't have any water. So
I noticed that, and I wasn't going to say anything, but since you brought it up, HR called. Guys, we're going to be back to wrap up the show right after this commercial break. Don't go away. If you're enjoying tonight's show, consider supporting the program by becoming a member of our Patreon. That's over at patreon.com/Alan Mosley. Like our Facebook page. It's facebook.com/Alan Mosley TV. You can follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/Alan Mosley TV. Subscribe to our YouTube page. It's youtube.com/Alan Mosley TV. But if you're more of a listener than a watcher, you get us on your favorite podcasting platform of choice thanks to Spotify. It's Too Late with Alan Mosley or Alan Mosley TV. Also, don't forget to get your tickets to the 8th annual It's Too Late live show, coming to you Saturday, May 16th in 2026 in Columbia, Tennessee. Let's not do this anymore.
How could we ever top this?
I'm so tickled now that there's a corner in my closet where I have a Willy Wonka outfit and an Ash Ketchum outfit. Just in case, you never know when you might need that.
Yeah, that you're gonna catch them all. Building a collection.
Yes. Amen. Dave, do you have a final thought?
It's always great to see Mike. Good show. I mean, here we are again. Can you believe it, guys? Halloween.
Yeah.
A couple days away.
Yeah. Can you believe
So
it?
excited.
It's Christmas. It's just 2 months away. Can you believe it? God. After party?
Yeah, we got to.
Yeah, got to. Guys, thank you so much for watching another episode of It's Too Late, and we will see you next week. Give us your best Pikachu impression. No, that's It's Pikachu. Yeah, it's Dave's dressed up as Pikachu, you guys. Yeah. The reference, it's Pokemon, you know. I'm the guy from the Pokemons.